everyone, welcome to Physics by Aaron. I'm very happy to welcome you all in this free foundation physics course. In 15 days, my plan is to make sure that all your basics is covered. In the last lecture, we discussed motion in one dimension. So we are very briefly revising the concepts of class 11th mechanics so that you build an intuition, because many times in the physics, we directly start supplying the equations which we first learned in class 11th. For example, equations of motion. And many times we just start using the graphs of motion directly in the questions without even realizing that we may or may not be well revised with our class 11th syllabus. So I am very quickly revising or recapping all the things that you might need in your physics competitive exam preparation. Here I want to make sure, I want to notify one thing, that I am not covering this topic in great detail. I'm not covering motion in one dimension in great detail. I also teach class 11th and 12th students, JEE advanced students, NEET students. I cover this topic in at least 10 to 20 days. But here I am teaching each and everything in just 1 hour or less than 1 hour, which directly means that whatever I'm telling you is only necessary for postgraduate and graduate students. You actually don't have to cover each and every aspect of motion in one dimension, motion in two dimensions. But whatever is required for you, that is I am covering here. Okay, so you don't have to worry too much or just go out there and study so many things. Whatever I'm teaching, that would be more than enough for you in your competitive exam preparation like JAM, GATE, NET. So let's begin our today's lecture, which is motion in two dimensions. Number one thing, two dimensions means two axes, means two-dimensional space. So here the two-dimensional space which I'm going to discuss is XY plane. So my motion will be in XY plane. So let's define XY plane. So this axis I will say as X, and this axis I will call it as Y. Number one concept which you need to understand in motion in two dimension is projectile. What is the meaning of projectile? Projectile means motion which is only under gravity. Only under gravity. So when you have some motion in which only gravity is a factor which is acting, no other force is acting, then that kind of motion is known as projectile. So let's say you throw a ball in air at any angle. So let's say I throw a ball in this angle. So this is my throw. So I have thrown the ball with an initial speed of u. So it is like firing a rocket. So I fired a rocket in this direction, or I kicked a soccer ball. So there is a soccer ball. I kicked this ball in this direction with a speed of u. Now my initial speed is making an angle theta with my x-axis, and you can clearly see x-axis here. So my initial velocity is making an angle of theta with my x-axis. Now my velocity has two components. One component is x component and one component is y component. What does it mean by components? I will discuss this in greater detail in my next video, that how to deal with vectors. But I am giving you a very rough idea that components means this velocity is also along x-axis because body is also going in x direction. And this velocity is also along y-axis because body is also going in y direction. So you can clearly see your body will follow this path. It will go up and then come down and go. So it has also covered x distance and it has also went in y direction. So what is your x component of velocity? It will be u cos theta. And what will be your y component of velocity? It will be u sin theta. I hope that you know this. If you don't know this, or you don't remind this how to find u cos theta and u sin theta, in my next lecture, I am delivering vectors, that whatever is a necessary information you need in vectors, I am covering that. So that lecture will be helpful. Okay. So for now, you believe me that x component of velocity is u cos theta. So I am going in x direction with the speed of u cos theta. And I am going in the y direction with the speed of u sin theta. Overall, I am going in this direction with speed of u. I hope that you understood this. So whenever you have to solve motion in two dimension, then you solve the equation separately. You solve equation separately for horizontal, yani x-axis, and you solve an equation separately for vertical means y-axis. Okay. So if we clearly observe this motion, you see the maximum it goes in x-axis is known as range. This is your range. Range is the maximum value of x the ball travels or your object travels. So you can clearly see your ball starts from here and ultimately it reaches here. So the maximum it has traveled is x, which is also known as range. And the maximum it has traveled in y-axis is known as maximum height. So your h is nothing but maximum height. Okay, so now let's discuss both the problems separately, both the equations separately. Let's apply the equations in horizontal and let's apply the equation in vertical. What I am applying for, what is my purpose? What do I want to find? So I want to find three things: range, what is my range, what is my maximum height, and what is my time. Means how much time it will take for ball to go start from here and reach here. These three things I want to find. That is the reason I am using the equation, two separate equations. One is horizontal and another is vertical. So let's apply horizontal first. So as we discussed, initial velocity, u is always termed as initial velocity. Initial velocity along horizontal direction is u cos theta. Fine. Sorry. U cos theta. Very good. Acceleration along x is 0. So you clearly know that gravity acts along y-axis. So the force is along y-axis. It is not along x-axis. So the acceleration along x-axis is 0. What is the distance you travel in x? That is capital X, or which is known as range. So the distance which you have traveled along x-axis is range. Okay. Now using the formula, x equals to ut plus half at square. So you can clearly see u is u cos theta. T is total time, which we want to find. And half at square, since a is 0, I will say plus 0. Okay. So you will get x equals to u cos theta t. What do I mean by this now? So I have reached till here. I have reached till here. Now, let's study the equation along y. Because in this equation, you clearly know I don't know x, I don't know t. These are the both things I want to find. How can I find this? Now let's see equations along y. Equation along y. Initial velocity along y is u sin theta. We already saw this. Acceleration along y is minus g. Acceleration due to gravity. And why minus? Because gravity always acts in the downward direction. So it is minus g. Now, we want to find maximum height. This maximum height. So what I will do is I will use an equation from 0 to a. So 0 to a. So let's apply equation from 0 to a. Before applying equation, some information which I want to tell you is at a, velocity will be 0. Velocity along y will be 0. Why? Because you know your vertical velocity was u sin theta. Then the vertical velocity starts decreasing. It ultimately became 0. And then it starts increasing in the downward direction and it hits the ground. I will again repeat this. Your x velocity will remain constant. It will always remain constant. U cos theta will remain constant. Why? Because there is no acceleration along x. So the velocity will along x will remain same. This will remain same. But your vertical velocity will first decrease until it becomes 0. And then it starts increasing in the negative direction. The same thing which happens if we throw a ball up. If we throw a ball up, the velocity slowly decreases. It becomes 0 and then it starts coming down. So the velocity, it decreases, becomes 0 and start increasing in the negative direction. Similar thing is happening here. So your u sin theta will slowly decrease till here, until here it becomes 0. So velocity along y is 0 at the maximum height, and then it start increasing towards the negative side. Okay, I hope that it is clear. So if I apply the equation, then my final velocity is 0. My time will be half of the total time. So let's say total time is t by 2. To reach the maximum height, I need half time. So which is capital T by 2. So what I will do now is I will use the equation b equals to u plus at. B is 0. I already discussed. U is u sin theta. A is minus g and t is t by 2. So from here you get time as 2u by g sin theta. Very important formula. So the total time that you need is 2u by g sine theta. So you can clearly see that your time only depends upon u and theta. How much was the initial speed and at what angle you have projected. Okay. Now, once you know t, you can put the value of t here. If you put the value of t here, you will get x equals to 2u square cos theta sine theta. I can just simply use one formula that 2 sine theta cos theta is equals to sine 2 theta. I hope that you know this trigonometry equation. So if I put this, I will get u square by 2 sine 2 theta. So this is what I got. U square by g sine 2 theta. So I got my range and I got my time. The only thing which is left is maximum height. So how do I find the maximum height? Again, I will use the same formula. B square minus u square equals to 2as. B is 0, u is u sine theta, 2 acceleration is minus g, maximum height is h. So from here I get h max as u square by 2g sine square theta. So in this y-axis equation, you clearly know y is final velocity is 0. Initial velocity is u sine theta. So what I did is b square minus u square. So 0 minus u square sine square theta. 2 times acceleration. Acceleration is what? Minus g. And what is maximum height? H. So from here I got h equals to u square by 2g sine square theta. So I got the formula for all three. I will not recommend you to learn the formula. I will rather focus on that you know how to derive this formula very quick, very fast and very rapid. Because in your physics problems, you will not be using these formulas directly. Instead, the mechanism which I told you, that you will be using many times. The derivation which we did, we will be doing that kind of derivations at many places. Okay. Here, I just want to point out one thing, that what is a maximum range? At what angle I should throw that it goes maximum in along the x. So this is my range formula. If you clearly see, if I want to make this maximum, I have to make sine 2 theta maximum. And sine 2 theta is maximum when 2 theta is 90. It means when theta is 45. So if you throw this ball at 45-degree angle, this ball will go maximum in the forward direction. So range will be maximum in this situation. Okay. You can clearly see that range t and h max only depends upon initial speed and angle, nothing else. It does not depend upon mass. You can throw a small tennis ball or you can throw a big soccer ball. The maximum height, velocity, maximum height, time period, and the range will be same for every ball or every mass or every object. You have to remember this. Fine. So with this clear, I want to discuss two very famous physics problems, which are very famous in physics. And as a physics student, you must be aware about these problems. And this directly uses the equation which we used now, which we derived now. So the number one famous physics problem is, let's say you throw a ball at 10 meters per second at an angle of 45 degree. And at 5 meters away, there is a wall and the height of the wall is 5 meters. The question to you is, will this ball go and hit the wall or will it go and cross the wall like this? What will happen? So will this ball cross the wall or will this ball go and hit the wall? So that is my question to you. So again, the same mechanism. What is a mechanism here? The mechanism is use the equation of x and y separately. So let's use the equation of x and y. So your your wall is 5 meters away. It means your x is 5. Okay. So you want to see, what do you want to see? You want to see when my ball reaches this point, means this point, your x equals to 5 meters. What is the value of y? So if your x is 5 meters, what is the value of y? If y is greater than 5, it means ball is above the wall. And if y is less than 5, it means ball is below the ball. It means it will hit. And in this case, it will not hit. So my basic mechanism of solving this question is that what is, if the value of, when the x is 5 meters, what is the value of y? If the y is less than 5, it means ball will hit. And if the y is more than 5, it will not hit. So let's do it. So your x is 5. What will be the x equation? X equals to ut and acceleration is 0. So there will be no half at square. So x will simply be ut. And we already discussed what is u. U equals to u cos theta. Along x-axis, what is an initial velocity? U cos theta. Okay. So what is time? Time will be x by u cos theta. X is 5. U is 10. Cos 45 is 1 by root 2. If you solve this, you will get an answer of 1 by root 2. So what do I calculate it actually? I calculated after what time it will reach here. So it will reach the wall after time 1 by root 2 seconds. Okay, if I know this, that the ball will reach here after 1 by root 2 seconds. Now let's solve y equation. Y equation is y equals to ut plus half at square. Very nice. U is u sine theta. So initial velocity along vertical axis is u sine theta. We already discussed it. T is 1 by root 2 minus a gravity acceleration is minus g. So I put minus g by 2. T again is 1 by root 2. So I will just start putting the value. U is 10. Sine 45 is 1 by root 2. Time is 1 by root 2. G is 10. 2 is 2. T square means 1 by root 2 square is 1 by 2. So if you solve this, you will get 10 by 2 minus 10 by 4, which is 5 minus 2.5, which is 2.5 meter. So my y comes out to be less than 2.5 meter. It means my ball will not cross because my wall is 5 meter height and I am at 2.5 meter. It means my ball will go here and hit it. It means my ball will not cross the wall. So this is a very famous physics problem. You all must be aware of that. Okay. I hope that you have understood this problem, and many times in your career, especially if you decide to build your career in teaching, or let's say you are giving some talk to some class 11th or 12th student, then this problem will maybe always be coming in front of you, because this is one of the famous problems in physics which NEET and JEE aspirants deal with. Okay. Now let's come to second problem. Second problem is also a very famous problem. Now what happened is, again the same situation. Everything is same. So the same situation. So you throw a ball 10 meter per second, 45 degree. We already calculated that it will go here and the height will be 2.5 meter. Now the question to you is, if I drop a ball here, will this ball hit this ball? I will again tell you one. So I throw one ball here. This ball went like this and came here. At the same time, when I throw this ball, I throw another ball here. And this ball is now coming down. And this ball is going like this. Will these two balls hit each other or not? This is my question. That is basically the question which I am asking. And what is given to you is that this total, it is thrown above from the 5 meter. So this entire thing is 5 meter. So this ball is thrown from the 5 meter above the ground. Okay. And this we know is already 2.5 meter, because we calculated in the last problem that our ball will reach up to 2.5 meter. But your second ball is thrown from 5 meter above the ground. So will these two hit each other if I throw them together? So let's again do the same analysis. Let's again do the same analysis. Now let's do the analysis for the second ball. So for second ball, we know that this ball will reach this ball at this point at time 1 by root 2. Same as last question, nothing has changed. So how much distance this ball will cover in 1 by root 2? How much distance exactly? So let's find out. So for this ball, initial speed is 0 because I have dropped the ball. Whenever you drop something, your initial speed is 0. For this second ball, acceleration is minus g. And time will be 1 by root 2 because we want to see what happens after 1 by root 2 seconds. So let's just apply x equals to ut plus half at square. Or I should say y equals to ut plus half at square. So if I apply y equals to ut plus half at square, u is 0, half is gravity is 10. Sorry, or it is minus 10. So let's put minus here. By 2, and t square is 1 by 2. So you get minus 2.5 meter. It means it will come down minus 2.5. This is exactly where I want it to be. So you see clearly. So it will come down by amount of 2.5. The total is 5. And this has came also 2.5. So both are at the same point. It means they both will hit each other. So they both will hit each other. And that is what will happen if you see what is going to, will it hit or not? So the answer is yes, exactly, they will hit. So that is the second physics problem, which is very famous. Okay, Walter Lewin sir has also done a very good experiment related to this. You can go and watch it on NPTEL. Okay, fine. Now moving on, the next topic is circular motion. I don't want to go in very detail in circular motion because in class 11th physics, too much depth has been covered in circular motion. But that much is not required for us. We need very basic ideas. And I just want to give you an intuition about the circular motion. So let's say your body is moving with a uniform speed in a circular motion. So your motion in a circular orbit is uniform. Even if your body is moving with uniform speed, there is still some acceleration. Now this might seem very tricky to you. Your speed is uniform. What I'm telling you is speed is uniform. What do I mean by that speed is uniform? It means it will cover this circle in the same time every time. Each circle it will complete in the same time. So if it took t by 2 time to complete half circle, then it will again take t by 2 times to complete other half. Okay, so this is very uniform motion. It is covering equal distance in equal interval of times. So speed at all the times is 2 meters per second, or let's say 3 meters, or let's say 4 at all the times. Here also the speed is 2, here also 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 2. So speed is not changing. Still there is an acceleration. Why? Because acceleration is known as change in velocity. Change in velocity, not change in speed. It is known as change in velocity. And what is velocity? Velocity is speed multiplied by direction. So the speed is not changing, but the direction is changing. So you clearly see that direction of speed here is like this, but the direction of speed here is like this. The direction of speed here is like this. So the speed may not be changing, but the direction of speed is changing. It means your velocity is changing. And if velocity is changing, acceleration is there. So whenever an object is in circular motion, even if the speed is uniform, there is some acceleration. So if there is some acceleration, what is that acceleration equals to? That acceleration is equals to v square by r. This is also known as centrifugal acceleration. Centrifugal acceleration v square by r. R is a radius of circular orbit and v square is the speed of your body in a circular motion. Okay. If there is acceleration, it means there is force. What is force? Force is mass time acceleration. So what will be centrifugal force? That is mv square by r. So I just multiply acceleration with mass, I get mv square by r. Always remember this force always acts in outward direction. So if something is moving in circle, the force will be like this. Okay. So force will be like this. So what do I mean by this? It means some force is always acting in an outward direction. If force is acting in an outward direction, it means you also need some inward force to balance this body, right? If you want this to move in circle and some force is acting in outward direction, it means you also need some inward force which can balance out this force, right? Otherwise, what will happen? If only outward force is there, your body will go like this. That's it. There is no circle. But if you want body to move in circle, you want some force to be inward so that at all the times, the net force is 0. Only then your body will move in a circle. So these inward force which you apply, inward force is a force which you apply, is known as centripetal force. Centripetal force. Centripetal force is a force which you apply and it always acts in the inward direction. I want to give you the two examples of centripetal force. One is Earth moving around Sun. So Earth moving around Sun, what is a centripetal force? Force of centripetal force is force of gravity. So gravity, the force between two objects, which is gravitational force, is acting like a centripetal force, which is Gmm by r square. And the outer force, which is centrifugal force, is mv square by r. And both balances each other. Okay. Now the second is electron rotating around a proton. What is centripetal force here? Electrostatic force. K Z into E by R square. So this is your centripetal. This is your centripetal. So in each situation, centripetal force is different. In the end, I want to mention you, I have already covered this in our lecture, lecture number 1 of kinematics. What if I ask you that, okay, I am moving in a circle, radius is r and the speed is v. What is the time period? So time period is total distance, which is 2 pi r, by speed, which is v. So in this way you can find your time period. Okay, that is what I want to tell you. Okay, so these are the equations that you might be using in your physics competitive exam preparation. So have a good idea. I have already uploaded the notes of kinematics on the website. You can go and look at those notes. Those notes have many solved examples. So do all those solved examples. Do a back exercise. There is a small back exercise. I have not given you a lot of questions because you don't need that much. But I have given you PYQs. So you can clearly see the PYQ test in your course. If you are in a JAM course, you can see JAM PYQ, which have came from the basic mechanics. If you are from GateNet, you can see the basic mechanics question from GateNet. I will recommend don't do them right now. Wait for some time. Do force and friction topic also and complete them after 2-3 days. Okay. But in the meanwhile, do the back exercise. If some of you think that, okay, I need more questions. I am not very good in this and I need to practice more and I have enough time. You can message me in the Telegram channel. I have a lot of questions regarding these topics because I am also a faculty member of JEN NEET. So I have many assignments. I have many questions which are solved as well. So I can give you a great set of questions. Okay. So best of luck. Let's meet in the next class. In the next class, I will be discussing the basic knowledge of vectors.